I know you're all going to be a bit despondent because it's come out today, breaking news, that the duffers in the Labour Party, Keir dead from the waist up, Starmy can't be dead from the waist down because he's got kids and they're not just all living in his household, are they? Oh, hey-oh. Keir has announced that he's going to let 16-year-olds vote. Oh, that should be interesting. The Kevin and Perrys of this world are going to be able to vote for government. They can't drink and they can't drive a car, but they can vote for who runs the country. Does that sound like desperate measures? It's going to have a shock because the person that's the most popular on TikTok, where 16-year-olds are, is Nigel Farage. And a lot of younger people actually know that the futures are doomed because there's no sodding jobs. So I think this is going to be a decision he's going to regret, to be honest, because all that can do is split the vote, because the real left-wing kids, you know, the middle-class ones that, oh, I hate mum and dad, I hate you providing me with this lovely house to live in and warm clothing and never having to worry about a bill, I really hate you. Oh, yes, I so do, the Kevin and Perrys of this world. Well, they'll go for Corbyn, won't they? They'll go for Chocolate Box Party. What's she called? She's named after a fruit. Oh, Sultana, that's it. They'll go for Raving Sultana Looney Party. And more normal kids who come from working class backgrounds who can see the mum and dad's skin, they'll probably vote for something sensible. Not necessarily Keir Starmer. Oh, I don't think they thought this one through. I think they realised they weren't going to get any adult votes. So let's go for kids. Dogs. Why not? Let's get dogs to vote. Oh, dogs will vote for Pedigree Chum Party. Every day there's just something else to either drive you to the edge of the abyss or drink. Maybe drive you to drink. Who knows? But in all this, what you've got to remember is we are pushing back. We are fighting in the real world and we are having victories. And I don't say this lightly, but Durham County Council is a big council with a lot of public spending. And our very own, I get on with Darren Grimes. I've known him quite a long time. And we WhatsApp each other occasionally talking about the state of the country. And I was really glad when he gave his job up to go and be a councillor, because I know that Darren's been fighting for Brexit. I've seen him sit on chat shows on the BBC and Channel 4 with 3 Remainiacs and just him defending Brexit. Way to go. And I just think he's got so much to offer. Anyway, I'm going to read you part of his post. Darren Grimes put it up himself. Breaking... Reform Council defeats the Eco Coalition to put Durham's kids first. Historic vote scraps the net zero obsession as Labour Lib Dem alliance crumbles. In an extraordinary scene at Durham County Council today, Reform UK councillors defeated an unholy alliance of Labour and Liberal Democrat members who tried to block emergency funding for vulnerable children in favour of the zero policies, a vanity project that they favour. The historic vote saw Reform's motion to scrap the council's economical suicide zero policies target by 2030 pass despite desperate attempts by the Eco Coalition to protect their virtue signalling agenda whilst Durham's care system burns. Durham Council leader Darren Grimes, who proposed the landmark motion, said today common sense defeated consensus. Labour and the Lib Dems showed their true colours. They'd rather chase impossible green dreams than protect our most vulnerable children. They formed a coalition against our kids. Reform stood firm and we won. The vote came as shock figures revealed Durham's care crisis had reached catastrophic levels. 119 children per 10,000 in care, nearly double the national average. Send spending exploded from Send is a think tank. Send spending exploded from 58.5 million to 115.4 million in just 7 years. Cumulative deficit set to hit 114 million by 2029. 1 in 5 Durham children now require special educational support. Meanwhile, the scrapped net zero target would have cost residents billions in higher taxes and energy bills, achieved a meaningless 0.003% decline in temperatures. which would require electric bin lorries costing 3 times more than the diesel ones, funded consultants and solar panels with decades-long payback. The choice was stark, Grimes continued. Windmills or wheelchairs, carbon targets or care homes. Labour and Lib Dems chose the wrong route. Reform chose the children. The defeated coalition's hypocrisy was laid bare when they couldn't answer basic questions about their climate policy, echoing Energy Secretary Ed Miliband's embarrassing failure in Parliament this week to explain them too, in the face of a simplistic question from Lee Anderson. Now, this is a massive thing, because this is in real time. This is happening in real time. This is pushback. I'm going to remind you of what Kent County Council have done, which is taken all the transgender reading material for kids off the shelves of public libraries. Stuff's going on all the time. I saw Lancashire County Council Deputy Chair telling people about this new AI equipment they've employed to take a look at manholes. What can happen with road repairs with all these potholes is they have to dig holes to do experimental digs to see what's causing the decay underneath. You can do it basically with fibre optics now, and you don't have to dig the road up and have temporary traffic lights to just go and have a look. There's a lot of new things coming along. I cannot stress enough how important it is that we've got these 10 victories at council level. That really is actual work pushing back. That's things going on. That's things happening. That's people getting up in the morning, brushing their teeth, going to council chambers, having meetings, unpicking all these idiotic schemes we've got that are costing us money where other systems are failing us. We need better road repairs. We need places in schools. We need a better health system. This can all have an effect at county council level, and it is doing. Lee Anderson, a former miner, lived a real life, understands what it is to budget. He's funny as anything. He asked Ed Miliband a question in Parliament. What happens when we get from 1% to 0? What happens? What atmospheric changes happen? And Ed couldn't answer him. Ed had no answer, because there is no answer, because nothing happens. So while we're on the subject of Lee Anderson, this just makes me laugh. These journalists, they've a lot to answer for. This is a clip. Nigel Farage put it up. It's about when Nigel Farage went to a working men's club in Doncaster, which is Ed Miliband's constituency. I think you'll just enjoy this.
Ed Miliband was on Nick Ferrari's show this morning and said you were telling fairy stories, you don't understand coalfield communities, and that you're playing people for fools. I just wondered if you had a response to... I know you've got some of your favourite politicians here. Ed Miliband's, I imagine, one of them as well.
Very funny. I went to a working man's club, 300 yards from Ed Miliband's constituency office in the northern bit of Doncaster. And I went into that club a few years ago. It was full of ex-coal miners, and some were full-on Scargillites, and others wanted to have a debate. It was very interesting. And I said, how often has Ed Miliband popped in? Never been in. If you think Ed Miliband understands former coal mining constituencies and their people, I'd like to see a head-to-head between Lee Anderson, who's worked down the pit, and Ed Miliband discussing the facts of life.
I mean, is that good or what?
Ed Miliband was on Nick Ferrari's show this morning and said you were...
Imagine being the journalist that's talking to a bloke that runs a political party where one of his MPs is a former miner and they're in a mining community in a working men's club. Nigel did the budget one year, I think for GB News, with Roger Guiolb. I can never say his surname right. He's a friend of Donald Trump's. And they went to discuss the budget, and they chose a working men's club in Doncaster to, air the show from there. And what people don't realise, the difference between reform and what's going on in the wider world, and I'm not a fan of political parties, but while we're in the party system, we need one to get the party system removed. We need to get direct democracy in. But I'll tell you something about working for Vote Leave. I was only a volunteer, that we all were. When the big red bus turns up, there's photographs of me stood outside it, It's a designated venue where people get told about an hour before. You get enough travel time to say, right, he's going to be here at such a time, because Boris was on it. So the big red bus, the Vote Leave bus, was due to be at a Wetherspoons in Darwin. So I get told enough travel time before to get ready. You know you're going, but you don't know where you're going. Dave says to me, I don't know why you're bothering going, you'll never see bloody Boris. I said, I'll tell you what it is, I can get where Castor Oil would bloody struggle. I'll be sat next to Boris and I'll be having a pint and I'll be bloody talking to him. I'll be finding out about what's going on with migrant crisis, and I want to know if it's real. Because if it's real, I need to blog, I need to tell people. And if it's not, I can go back to just enjoying my life. Anyway, sure enough, of course I got to see Boris and I got to sit down and have a pint with him. And I got to talk to him for about 20 minutes on my own. So, but the thing is, it was a captive audience. The people there were all pro, leave. They were invited. So when you see the bus turn up, you see a crowd, it's a foregone conclusion. The difference with Farage, they wouldn't let him on that bus, which I thought was dreadful. He had to get his own bus, do you remember, during Brexit? He had to get his own bloody bus. The difference with Nigel Farage turned up on his bus and he just turned up at a town. He just invited the whole town, whether they liked him or they didn't. He allowed them to talk to him, whether they wanted to remain or they didn't. He was open to the society, to touch base and make contact with people. And that's what these politicians don't get. That's why he's successful, because he knows how to treat a crowd. I've only met him a couple of times. I speak to him fairly frequently in WhatsApp. I don't make a nuisance of myself because he's a busy man. But the difference what I see with what Nigel Farage does, it's not that he's tried to, he doesn't like competition. There isn't any. There isn't anybody doing it better than him. No matter what they come out with. Some of them look like they've had a charisma bypass and it's been 100% successful. They have no charisma at all. They might be knowledgeable, they might be perfectly decent people. But there's a difference between knowing how to talk to people and being courageous enough to go into the crowd. Hence the milkshakes get thrown at him. So I do think that what's on offer here from what Reform is offering is something solid you can touch. There they are. This is Durham Council that's pushing back. Kent County Council pushing back because the transgender ideology books have been taken off the children's bookshelves in libraries. This is going on all the time, all over the country in the 10 councils that they control. What's it going to be like next year with another 3,000 seats on offer? It's going to be even better. And as far as kids voting is concerned, that's up to the family to instill some common sense in the kids. Because if there's one thing you can do, you might not be able to put it on your social media pages. You might, be a bit afraid that you're going to get the wrong reaction. But you can talk to your kids. You can talk to your grandkids. Because let's face it, if you go back to tribal days, if you go back to the Native American Indians, the Aborigines, what do? What's the difference in their societies? They respect their elders. The young listen to their elders to move forward. That's what they always did. The elders were revered because they had the experience of having lived on the planet longer. That's the bit that's missing in our society. And that's the things we want to put back. We put that back ourselves. Can't be done with politicians. I mean, the politicians want you to subcontract it to them. The politicians want you to let go of your family values. They don't want family because family will defend themselves. Family defends themselves. Communities defend themselves. Countries defend themselves. It's important to these globalists to break all that up. Well, if you're doing your job right, they can't because your family will stand by you and I'll stand by my family as millions of other people will do in this country. So we are on the road to recovery. It's going to be rocky. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to get there because they can't, unless they come up with something bloody awful like a war, and I won't put it past them, but what I'm telling you here and now is, Labour are going to come up with all sorts before there's an election. But every time they come out with something vile, the people get stronger because they don't want it. They'll push back. And we will. And we'll get there.